Hey guys, this is a technique video on the jerk press and push press rack position. So let's start right away. One of the things that is confusing here and why I'm making this video is that when you're thinking about rack positionings, there's two really, the front rack position and the jerk position, or the press position, right? And they're a little bit different. And so when you're thinking about the front rack position for squatting or for cleaning, the points of performance are very clear, right? Like, so you want that bar as far back as it goes, pop. You want the bar to be resting on your shoulders, and with those things, and if you can, grabbing the bar fully with your hands, raise your elbows as high as you can, right? Like for me, that's here. I can, like I have very good mobility. I could go even higher, and I can go, like I have full range of motion, but keeping the bar when I want it, grabbing that bar there. That's as far as I go. This is a technique bar too, and so keep that in mind. Anyhow, that's for the front squat. And for the front squat, we want all those things because we're thinking about squat, right? Like, so we want our vertebral column, our spine, to be as vertical as possible. We want the bar to be as close to our center of mass, and we're not moving that bar from there, right? Like, so if I'm here, if I am doing all those things, and if I have my elbows really high, I'm gonna be able, the moment my elbows drop, my spine is dropping. So I want all those points of performance so that I can be as straight and vertical as possible, so that there's beautiful transfer of force from the legs all the way up, nothing is twisted and so on. Again, I'm thinking squats and cleans, right? Now, when you're pressing, so jerk and push presses are part of this conversation, the things change a little bit. That means that if I'm in my front squat position and I start press, even if I move my hair around, the first thing that will happen is I will have to either go around my face, right, like in this position, right? Because if I go straight up, I hit myself even if I'm getting on my head up. And what you should consider is that the direction of extension to be most efficient should be where your forearm is pointing. If you go around, you're using this lever, right? Like if I go around, I'm using this lever. This is a lever that is in a very suboptimal place for pressing, right? And so this is the direction that I want. So if my elbow is very high, boom, there is nowhere to go. So in order to do that, I am going to drop the elbows a little bit. Now the bar is still on my shoulders because I'm thinking push press and push there. And the elbows are still in front of me because remember that the bar in the press and the jerk finishes behind my neck, right? So I have to go in that direction. So the forearms are gonna show the direction that I'm going. If I'm off, or I'm here, or I'm even here, that's where it's going. And you'll see that a lot of power lifters and so on will press in that direction. They're not thinking about a jerk, they're just thinking about like building strength and muscle, so they'll be fine there. I think it's inefficient still, and it doesn't build them as much shoulders, but it doesn't matter for the purpose that they need it, it's fine, right? And so, but if you're thinking about those other lifts, you have to have the elbows a little bit more, like still in front of you, but a little bit lower, and also so that you can grab the bar fully, right? And then head back, press, and there's gonna be a lot of transfer of movement, right? Like a lot of transfer of force, with this movement. So I'm here, press straight up, and so on. So that's the first thing. How to know where, right? Like how to know how low to drop the elbows. So you're gonna drop them as low as you can while the body still is in contact with the shoulders. But you see that like there's a moment there in which you drop them a little bit too low, and then like here, for me it's here. If I go lower, that's it. So here, and that's exactly fine, right? Like mobility is gonna change it a little bit, yeah, but for most people it won't. Most people just use it flexibility, discomfort as an excuse. So that was a little bit rough there. Doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now you have that position. Second thing that you should consider is when you're doing So when you're coming off the rack, right, like when you're doing presses of the rack, that's not gonna be a problem. You can find that position and so on. The problem is when you're going to a clean and jerk, right, like you're coming out of the clean, and you're in front rack, and it's very heavy. You're like, okay, fuck. Now how do I do this? So there's a way in which when you're coming out of the squat, you jump that bar and move your hands a little bit out and drop the elbows, right? You saw it there, which is very hard to do with heavy weight, so you have to practice that. Or the scary way, which is when you're here and you just go one hand, right? And all you're doing is you're going from a very flex wrist position into this, right? So you move the hand a little bit out and bring that bar a little bit deeper in the palm, and that is it. And you're gonna do it slowly and controlled, and it's gonna be really fucking scary. Now, if you start moving too much the spine, it's not gonna work very well. The Colombian Olympic weightlifting team is very famous for doing that. They don't switch; they switch when they're standing up. And some teams think that's terrible. That's why they win medals. Everybody has their own techniques. The Chinese do it differently and so on. So you can find your technique. What's common is that front rack position differs for the reasons that I told you. So anyhow, I hope this helps, and let me know how it goes.